Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live in the studio. You know what to do by now. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Oh, Mr. Stephen Howson walking behind the screen there. Good to see you, bro. I don't know if you've heard, but there's been some story about some kid called, hang on a minute, I wrote this down somewhere. Cristiano Ronaldo. Yep. A bit of a internet meltdown over the last sort of 48 hours, is it? Since the Spurs game with the whole Ronaldo saga. The latest sort of installment yesterday evening was when the club issued a statement. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, for anyone who's been living in a proper bubble, after the Spurs game or during the Spurs game, Ronaldo leaves. 89th minute, he goes down the tunnel. I was at the game, I didn't even notice. Apparently then he leaves the stadium. He doesn't just go to the changing rooms. He gets off. He's had enough. So he leaves. Everyone reported that. He left early. Eric Ten Hag gets asked about it. I'm just going to give you a quick update on where we're up to. Eric Ten Hag gets asked about it after the game, and he says, I'll deal with that tomorrow. He says, now I'm going to sort of, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, now we're going to sort of enjoy the moment, enjoy the victory, celebrate the win. Tomorrow I'll deal with that. Fine. Yesterday, which is tomorrow, when Eric Ten Hag was speaking, Thursday, there was a club statement. This came out at 5:45 last night. And it just said, Cristiano Ronaldo will not be part of the Manchester United squad for this Saturday's Premier League game against Chelsea. The rest of the squad is fully focused on preparing for that fixture. So that's blatantly obvious why that is. Because obviously there's been this incident. He left early. He's being punished, basically. He's not in the squad for the Chelsea game. Now, there is a slight twist to this as well, because I think it was Laurie Whitwell and Chris Wheeler. I think Chris Wheeler may have had it first from Daily Mail. They were reporting yesterday evening that Ronaldo didn't just leave early. He refused to come on. There was a report there in the Mail, I think, that Ronaldo had been asked to come on as a substitute in the Spurs game, didn't want to, and then left. Which kind of adds a little bit of a twist to it, doesn't it? Because at first everyone was thinking, there was a lot of people on Twitter and everywhere else saying, he got annoyed because he wasn't going to be brought on, so he left early. But then if you find out actually he was going to be brought on, according to these reports anyway, and he didn't want to, that that's not even a word, is it? Adds a whole new dimension to this. Because when you've got a player refusing to play, that's a lot different than a player who's miffed that he isn't playing. Anyway, that statement comes out from the club. And now, around, if I can find it, I've got it somewhere. I think it was around sort of 9 o'clock-ish last night. Cristiano Ronaldo posts this on Instagram. Stay with me. As I've always done throughout my career, I try to live and play respectfully towards my colleagues, my adversaries, and my coaches. Adversaries, you don't hear that word very often, do you? That hasn't changed. I haven't changed. I'm the same person and the same professional that I've been for the last 20 years, playing elite football, and respect has always played a very important role in my decision-making process. I started very young. The older and most experienced players' examples were always very important to me. Therefore, later on, I've always tried to set the example myself for the youngsters that grew in all the teams that I've represented. Unfortunately, that's not always possible, and sometimes the heat of the moment gets the best of us. Okay? Now, that little line there is as close as you're getting to an apology in this statement. There's also an apostrophe in there that doesn't need to be there, but that's a different story. Right now, I just feel that I have to keep working hard in Carrington, support my teammates, and be ready for everything in any given game. Giving in to the pressure is not an option. It never was. This is Manchester United, and United we must stand. Soon we'll be together again. And then that and that, 2 emojis. So it's not really an apology. If you notice on our title, we'd put apology in inverted commas, because it isn't really an apology. It's a statement on the back of what's going on. He's addressing it in his own sort of Cristiano Ronaldo way. The closest you're getting to any admission of I've done something wrong, really, is the bit where he says, sometimes the heat of the moment gets the best of us. Now, the one positive, if you can call it that, from all this, is he's sort of making a declaration at the end. I just feel like I have to keep working hard in Carrington, support my teammates, and be ready for everything in any given game. then goes on to say, this is Manchester United and United we must stand. Soon we'll be together again. So you kind of get the impression for that. I do anyway. And by all means, I'm going to get to comments in a minute because I know there's a lot of you who've commented. That's him saying, all right, you know, shouldn't have done what I've done. Let's crack on. I'm still here. Let's move on. Now, this morning, the latest update is that he's arrived for training. Now, I think the MEN had it that he arrived for training at 8:30, which I think is normal, and he's due to train with the under-21s, but was actually ended up doing individual fitness work with coaches rather than training with the under-21s. But he's not. I think he's not training with the first team because there's this sort of like punishment. There's also talk of him being fined as well, but it's not clear how much he's been fined. I think you can find out. I think, and get involved in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong, if it's 2 weeks or more, then I think they have to let the FA know or the PFL. Something, I'm not sure. There's a certain threshold where if you fine a player a certain amount of weeks' wages, you have to declare that to, you know, the union or whatever. So apparently he's been fined. Obviously training with the under-21s, dropped from the squad for Chelsea. And let's not forget, right, it's easy to go, well, Ten Hag's done that, and I actually back Ten Hag. I back this manager, and he's done what he's got to do. But that's not ideal because we don't know what's happening with Anthony Martial. Marcus Rashford can play down the middle, has played down the middle. I know he's not been amongst the goals of late, but I think he's had a very good game against Spurs. But you could do with Ronnie as an option. United are a bit light up front. So to just say you're not even in the squad for the Chelsea game is a big call, but it's a call personally I back. I'll get in some of the comments and then we'll go through a little bit more of an update as well because there's a little bit more to this. Abir Roy says refusing to play is downright shameful act. Aberion Baratheon says Ronaldo redemption arc. Santa Notch, good to see him in the chat, says my adversary is Krampus. Joe James John says this is like some teen drama. Yeah? This is like She's All That or 10 Things I Hate About You or Dawson's Creek. I'm showing me age, yeah. Count Sparrow says he shouldn't be recalled just yet. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a spam there that we've got rid of. Ross Murphy says there's no sorry to it. There isn't. We said apology. It's not really, there's no I'm sorry. There's not even really a proper admission of I did something wrong. He just sort of says, yeah, in the heat of the moment, sometimes things happen. So he's not saying, I shouldn't have done what I did. I'm sorry. Let's move on. And personally, and again, I want to hear what you guys think, I would have liked to have seen just an admit and holding your hands up and go, you know what? I'm sorry for doing that. Shouldn't have done it. Wasn't professional. Wasn't right. Took the glint or the slight gloss off the win or whatever. Or no, you don't even have to go that deep. Just say, I'm sorry, I reacted in the way I did. I was just a bit upset or whatever. And then we move on. But that is just, it's neither here nor there really, is it? The only sort of positive, as I said earlier, is this sort of thing about let's get on with it. But I'm a bit annoyed with all this because I love Ronnie. He's one of the best players I've ever seen. You know, three titles in a row, Champions League win, Ballon d'Or win whilst at Manchester United, giving me some of the greatest moments. I was saying this yesterday as a United fan. But this, to me, is just so unnecessary. It's just pointless. And it's a bit embarrassing as well because we had a great night against Spurs, a big win, a great performance, a fantastic atmosphere, and then we've just got this saga as a distraction that's rumbling on. It goes on that night, it goes on the next day, and even 2 days later. And if we don't get a result against Chelsea, if we say we lose 1-0 or whatever, or, Marcus misses a sitter, or Bruno misses a penalty, or whatever, this is going to go on again. Because then people are going to go, oh, we should have took Ronnie with us. Ten Hag made a mistake, man. He should have took Ronaldo. But you can't have it both ways, right? We've been crying out for a manager since 2013 who could come into this club and be the next Sir Alex Ferguson or like Fergie. Now, I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag is, but I don't think anyone will be Fergie again. But that kind of manager who can manage players, who's got authority, who doesn't take any messing, who knows what he's doing tactically, who can make the right signings. Now, Eric Ten Hag has come in. He's made the right signings. He's got players motivated. He's got the place buzzing again. He's playing football that you can enjoy watching. And now he's showing his authority when he's got a player who's refusing to play. What is he meant to do? Is he meant to go, it's Ronnie, innit? He's the go, let him do what he wants. Or is he meant to go, no, these are the rules for everyone, especially a senior pro like you, you're out. Now, I've got to back this manager, me personally. And I see that most people are, from what I've seen on social media. There are some that are going, why has he done that? Ronnie's, every right to be upset. But you can't be both ways. We can't be sitting here going, oh, we need a manager who's going to sort of be like Fergie would be. What would Fergie do? This, that, and the other. And then have someone who's just going to be completely impotent. It's not going to work. Now, let's not forget, in July, whenever it was, Ronnie wanted to leave. He wanted to go to another club. At the end of the season, he knew we weren't in the Champions League. We knew he was in the Europa League. He had months to say, well, he could have said it there and then, I want to move on. And I would have respected that. If he'd have said after the end of the season, listen, I'm not being funny. I'm one of the greatest ever players. I ain't playing in the Europa League. This hasn't worked out. I've done my bit. I scored 20-odd goals, 18 in the Premier League this season. I played after a tragedy as well, let's not forget, when he lost a child and he came back rather quickly. I think that was his own decision. It wants to be his own decision anyway, because the club made him. That's disgusting, but I don't think they did. I think it was his own decision. So, respect's okay. You've done that. You've come back. You had a season. You wasn't successful for the club, but you did your bit. You move on. But he didn't. And then he waited, and then he said he wanted to go. And from what we gather, his agent, was it George Mendes, was trying to get him a club all over Europe, trying to get him a Champions League club, trying to get him a move. There was links with Napoli, links with Atletico Madrid, links with Chelsea. It didn't happen. He didn't get a move. He didn't go anywhere. Then there was the incident at Real Vallecano, where he left early. And Erik ten Hag kind of protected him there. But it's a bit of a saga, isn't it? It's just a drama that Erik ten Hag doesn't need. But he said, he wasn't the only one who left early. We shouldn't be leaving early anyway. Do you know what I mean? But he did, and Erik ten Hag dealt with it, and okay. Then we had this thing where he wasn't starting, he wasn't, playing, and it looked like, I'll say this thing, it looked like a positive because it looked like he was just getting on with it. He accepted that he wasn't first choice anymore, and he seemed to be at least trying when he came on and trying in the games he started, even though his performances weren't as good as we've seen in the past from Cristiano Ronaldo. Nowhere near as good as we've seen in the past, if we're being brutally honest. But it looked like, okay, he's willing to buy into this. And now we've got this saga. And it really frustrates me because I don't think we need it. I don't think this is necessary. It's a Duck in the Super Chat says, such a non-apology. Didn't acknowledge what he did or even say sorry. Just prattled on about how long he's played and how professional he is. Also, what heat of the moment, winning 2-0. It was such a good night. It was. He should have been part of that. Even if he wasn't playing, he should have been on that pitch at the end, applauding the fans, celebrating with his teammates. There was a real party atmosphere at Old Trafford on Wednesday night. You saw all the players. There was chants going out for Fred, chants going out for Lisandro Martinez. Martinez come afterwards and said, how emotional it was. Everyone was loving it. The crowd was loving it. The players were loving it. The players were applauding the fans. Some of the players were, giving the kids the shirts and all that sort of stuff. It was a big win. Do you know what I mean? Let's not take wins like that for granted. We've had some good results this season. I know we've had some bad ones. But beating Liverpool, beating Arsenal, beating Spurs, these are good results. These are big results. After you look at the last few years, it's been a bit of a rarity that we'll beat Spurs, Liverpool and Arsenal in the same seat in the same few months. So let's not take it for granted. And you can see what Erik ten Hag's doing, and we can have all this positivity, and it's just been undermined by this just nonsense. Count Sparrow, a coach needs to do what is best for the team. Ronaldo left Manchester United years ago without thinking of the club. He gets paid. He should act right. Dalapo or Dalapo 92, sick of it already. Move on swiftly. DC Bissell, yes, this is his PR team trying to make the most of it. This is soulless. Hit the like button, by the way. We've not got many likes. You might not like what's going on, but there's 1,200 people, nearly 1,200 people watching. Not even got to 200 likes. Hit that like button, please. Simon Andrews says, where was the apology? There wasn't a sorry in that statement I read, unless it missed it. No, there wasn't. The special one's a Slippy G got sacked. That's quite funny, isn't it? Me and Scotty, my mate, did a podcast the other day. We talked about who's going to go first, Truss or Gerrard. And I think, Truss announced she was going anyway about 4 hours before Gerrard got sacked. Kelvin Tom says, we stand behind Erik ten Hag. George says, anything on Greenwood? No update there on Greenwood. If there is any, we'll give you one. Martin Darcy in the super chat. Sorry, I've not missed you, Darcy. Martin, sorry. CR7, realising the team doesn't need him anymore. Also in the super chat, Lev says, I wonder if they're even his words. Possibly, possibly not. Possibly he's signed off on it. UK Strain says, big up Motty, big up yourself, bro. Jadu says, love you, Baldy. Love you too, brother. I don't want him back, to be honest, says George. Santa Not says, Jay, you should do another Scotty podcast with Klopp and Pep in the thumbnail. Yeah, we said he was going to go, Truss and Gerrard, and now they've both gone. Jacoya Trot, that apology shows it's still Ronaldo first, and he has to act the team player. DC Bissell says, yeah, that's fair. I am sorry for not liking the video, Jay. That's an apology. Thank you. And you know what you can do about that? You can rectify it by liking the video. You can say, I'm sorry I didn't like the video. I apologise, not just to you, Jay, but to the other viewers of Stretford, Paddock, and everyone involved. And I've rectified my mistake by liking that video. I appreciate it. We've also got 200 likes. Let's get to 400. We can do this, gang. Phil Rocks says, was hardly an apology. UK Strain says, Ronaldo fined 2 weeks wages. Is this true? There's some conflicting reports here. I don't think we know. I'm led to believe, and get involved in the chat if you know better than I do, because most of you do, and not all of you, that I think if it's 2 weeks, you have to declare that to the FA or to the PFA or something. I might be wrong, but I think 1 week you don't have to do that. Make sure as well you hit the subscribe button. There's a link in the chat. Hit that subscribe. We want to get right to 700,000 subscribers by Christmas, or Crimbo, as we call it in Manchester, or I do. Hit that subscribe button. We can do it. We've had some great support. There was a little bit of a twist in the tail. Can we say that? There's a story here, and I think this is from the Mirror. And it says, David Beckham owned Inter Miami. And I love this, right? I love it when there's a news story and they put things in inverted commas. We did it with the apology this morning, because it's not an apology. It says, we'll consider Ronaldo offer. It says, this might be the only solution for Cristiano Ronaldo. MLS side Inter Miami are on the lookout for a new star striker, with Gonzalo Higuain played his final career match this week, and Ronaldo would be an ideal replacement. The Mirror focuses on a possible transfer, claiming that David Beckham's club will at least consider a high-profile move for the Portuguese forward. Interesting one, that, isn't it? Because in many ways, that would be like the dream move for possibly for everyone. Ronaldo goes to Inter Miami, gets a massive wage. You know, I think he's on about £500,000 a week or something stupid. They'll probably pay that. They get, the MLS gets, you know, one of the greatest, if not the greatest players of all time. The thought of, you know, Beckham-owned club having Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, it writes itself, doesn't it? That would break the internet. But does he want to go there? Does he want to go, no disrespect to the MLS, or does he still want to have a crack at another Champions League campaign? There was links one with the Saudi Arabian club. I know it's different than the MLS, where the numbers being spoken about were ridiculous. It was something like £500 million or something, or £250 million. I can't remember. It was just stupid. When I saw it, I thought it was a typo. But will he go there, or is that just people putting two together and coming up with 47? Jonas Loic makes a great point. Glazes out. Always glazes out. Let's not forget that. Sahil Banga says, we'll take Ronaldo in the Indian Super League. Selo Mbanya says, get Gakpo in January. Abhinav Verma says, what about his case in the US? I mean, if he wants to leave Europe, then Saudi was ridiculous. He did have a case. I think that's been dealt with. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the last sort of caveat, or the last issue with that, was dealt with. So I think he is free to travel to the US, as far as I know. Tuvok says, love you, Jay. Was at the game the other night. Amazing atmosphere and performance. And Ronnie left the warm-up 5 to 10 minutes before everyone else. Andrew's also saying, bring Gakpo. Gakpo seems like a positive or a popular choice. Bobo Boy says, I don't want to apologise for hitting that like video, Jay. Okay, fair enough. You don't have to. Neil Edwards says, Ten Hag, Red Army. So, yeah, seems like a lot of people are supporting Ten Hag on this front. A lot of people criticising or not happy with the way Cristiano Ronaldo's conducted himself. I'm in that camp. I like Ronaldo. I love the guy, you know, like I say, for what he's done. But I just feel like this has just been an unwelcome and unnecessary distraction at a critical part of the season. Also, let's not forget, right, if you're Ronaldo, if you're not playing against Spurs, there's lots of other games coming up. We had, what was it, 4 games in 9 days? There's another game on Saturday. There's another game next Thursday. There's loads of games coming up. We're not short of games. I think we're playing 9 games in October. So it's ridiculous to moan like this and cause this drama, because you're going to get games. I understand you want to play against Spurs. I understand you scored actually against them last season. But that team that Erik Ten Hag sent out against Spurs worked. It did. There's no two ways about it. It was just a fantastic performance in a team that worked. Erik Ten Hag got it right, and even if he didn't, it's his prerogative anyway. You don't just storm off. So I'm really annoyed that this has become a thing. Right, should we talk about something else? We'll get back to Ronnie in a bit, because I know there's loads of people in the chat and the comments, so I'm not going to close the door on it completely. We're going to talk about the greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen, Edwin van der Sar. Yep. Van der Sar contacts. There he is. Look at him. I've got a shirt like that. United contacted. Again, contacted is in inverted commas in this story. So make of that what you will. Van der Sar last week, over director of football position, says United contacted Edwin van der Sar, this is in the MEN, last week in regards to possibly becoming their director of football. Voetbal Premier suggests United are interested in bringing the Dutch great back to Old Trafford and that Danny Blind has already been sounded out to potentially replace him at Ajax. Van der Sar as director of football at Manchester United would be amazing, with the caveat that they gave him the authority to do the director of football job. Because it's no good bringing in Edwin van der Sar, who's just been at Ajax, which is one of the most well-run clubs in world football. He's been there. Now, if he used to come in, I think he's been, was he CEO there or something? Now, if he comes to United and he's director of football, and then they say, you're the director of football now, Edwin. Fantastic, right? I'll work with Erik ten Hag. We'll work on signings together. We'll work on the strategy. We'll work on, who can we get in and who the targets we've got, and if we don't get that target, what are the targets we've got, and I'll work with the scouts and we'll make sure that we're backing the manager properly and that we're bringing the brand of football that he wants and we've got the players that he needs and we're supporting him fully. And they go, yeah, that's all great, yeah, but all you need to do is when you've got a decision to make, just let Joe Glazer know about it and he'll decide for you whether he's going to sign off on it. Is that going to work? And actually, Edwin, you don't even need to do half of that stuff because we've already got people that can do that. You could just be like a bit of a figurehead, a bit of an ambassador. He ain't going to do that. He isn't, is he? I'll tell you now, how would you know, Jay? Because we've already had people being interviewed for a similar role, like Patrice Evra. Rio Ferdinand, I think, was contacted about it. And the reason those guys, who both club legends, didn't want to do it, it wasn't because it was the job. It was because it wasn't the job it was portrayed to be. You saw the interview with Patrice Evra where he was talking about some of the problems he had in the past, contacting the club about potential transfers. They couldn't get hold of anyone. So Edwin van der Sar coming to Manchester United as director of football would be great, long overdue. Someone who knows the club, someone who's worked in that field. It's not just good enough to get a club legend, and you need someone who knows how to get transfers done, how to get players, how it works, how football works in terms of making deals happen. He knows all that. He's been doing all that. And he knows Erik ten Hag and would work well with Erik ten Hag, but he has to be given the authority to do the job you're bringing him in to do. It's no good just bringing in Edwin van der Sar and going, right, you're just the sort of glorified ambassador. He has to be given those tools. So we'll have to see if that happens, eh? Let me know in the chat. Jonas Lowick says Edwin van der Sar, Red Devil. Jokia Trot says sounds unlikely. I think it is a bit unlikely. BB says 1,350 watching, 50-something likes. Come on, guys. Let's get to 500 likes, yeah? We can do that. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I said. I think I said that. Van der Sar is CEO of Ajax, not director of football. I think I said CEO. Would that not be a demotion in the role, says Red Lad? The thing is, right, in terms of the structure and the setup and how well it's run, Ajax absolutely knocked United out of the park, yeah? United have been run shambolically for the past, at least since Fergie retired. Do you know what I mean? Once he retired, and the wheels well and truly came off of how this football club was run, and you had a load of bankers, or you might want to call them something else, pulling the strings there, and it's been a shambles. Ajax is very well run. They win trophies. They play good football. They move players on. They bring in players for pennies and sell them for big money. They've got a very, very good setup there. But let's not kid ourselves, right? Ajax has a lot of stature in world football. They've won loads of Champions Leagues. They've won loads of Dutch leagues. They're one of the, biggest clubs in the world, but they're not as big as Manchester United. And coming to United as director of football, it might not be as big a role in terms of as being a CEO at Ajax, but you come into a much bigger club. United are just a bigger club than Ajax. They just are. United are one of these sort of top 5 or 6 clubs in world football. Despite the fact we've not won a title since 2013, despite the fact we've not won a Champions League since 2008, doesn't change that. We're still huge. You've got 76,000 fans through the gate every week. You've got, hundreds of millions of fans worldwide, one of the most recognisable clubs of all time. Still one of the most successful in terms of, the history and what we've won. So I don't think that coming to Manchester United as a director of football is necessarily a demotion because you're moving to a much bigger club. The question is, like I said earlier, are you going to get the tools to do the job you need to do? David Smith says we're top 2, not 5 or 6. Lots of people still talk about that apology. I'll get back to that in a minute. There is another story about a transfer, because where would we be without a transfer story? Come on. Ten Hag, again, what is it with all these inverted commas? Ten Hag interested in Alessandro Bastoni transfer. And it has been reported, this is in the MEN, that Erik Ten Hag wants United to make an effort to sign Alessandro Bastoni next year. Fijages, it's some sort of publication. It's Fichages. Fijages. Dear me. Says Ten Hag is obsessed, again in inverted commas. Just, do you know what? You could just write anything and put it in inverted commas, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean? You could just write anything you want. It's less messy links with United, and it's someone's tweet. Do you know what I mean? All this business. He's obsessed with the centre back and wants his side to be involved in discussions should he become available. The problem for United is that they need to sell before they can buy in central defence, with Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe still on the books, while one of Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof would likely also need to make way. So, yep, he's interested in Bastoni, but he's probably going to have to move players on. I mean, we'll have to wait, won't we? Yeah, Whitterbird here says, J, my cat Rio is chasing your hands on the telly. Sorry, gesticulating there. I'm always all like that, aren't I? I hope your cat's a lot friendlier than my cat. My cat just goes out all night, comes in and just gives me a little meow like he's having a go at me. Yeah, Dan United 94 says, Bastoni. I do love a nice vowel on the end of a name. It's very Mancunian. Emperor Jerome, Your Majesty, says we look international too often and end up spending way too much in transfers. Ivan Toney is a quality player to consider, perhaps. I love Ivan Toney. I think he's a very good player. Adam McCullough is a big fan of Ivan Toney. I would have Ivan Toney at United like that. Will it happen? I don't know. I think it's a doable one. I don't think he cost the earth. I just don't know if that will happen. I think if Ronaldo does move on, though, we do have to bring in a striker. We cannot have a situation where you've got Martial, who's always injured. You've got Marcus Rashford, who is probably not an out-and-out striker, for being brutally honest. And then you've got the likes of Charlie McNeil and Joe Hugill, who I love. I love Charlie McNeil. I think he's phenomenal. I like Hugill as well, obviously. They're probably, for me, a season away at least. And obviously Mason Green would have been very surprised if you saw him in United shirt again. So you need a striker. Maybe Ivan Toney would be the answer. I'd have him. I would. Gakpo, people have been saying should be one. We'll have to wait and see. Dan United 4 says, Anthony Elanga, Anthony Martial, Ivan Toney and Bastoni. Up the Toney FC. Evil Gookie says, tear up Jones's contract. DJ Sonny Baines says, I would buy Mbappe. Hit that like button and the subscribe button. We've not got to 400 likes yet. What's going on about it? What's going on about it? It doesn't even make any sense, does it? Santa Nut says, Anthony Toney. Stone 420 says, Ronaldo, could terminate his contract. It would just cost him money. That is, people have been suggesting that. Could United just say, right, okay, that's the end of that. We're just going to, tear up your contract. I'm going to just mention another thing on United. On Ronaldo. There was a story in the Eye last night, Eye News, and it says United consider releasing Cristiano Ronaldo on a free transfer after he walks out early in Tottenham clash. Now, this was from Pete Hall. I know Pete's a good lad. He did do this story before the statement by Ronaldo, so don't know if that has any bearing where you go, okay, maybe there's a bit of a lifeline, as we've said there. Manchester United and Cristiano Ronaldo are running out of ways to find a happy ending to the promise that promised so much. So a story, that promised so much. And then it goes on to say that club sources have told I that an exit strategy is being considered, and if no suitor can be found by super agent Jorge Mendes, United may be willing to cut their losses and let him go on a free. So there's talk that maybe that can happen. I don't know. I still feel like, especially with those Glazers, are they going to go, yeah, he can go. He can go nothing. They're going to want something out of it, I think. Who knows? Gerdic G says we should go for Vlahovic. Remember when Ralph Rangnick spoke about him, didn't he? He spoke about a few players. He was one of them. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. It's been a really good discussion here about Cristiano Ronaldo. This saga may rumble on, it may not. Hopefully, his statement, the club statement, what's going on now, we can all move forward. We've got a big game against Chelsea this weekend, and we need to move on from this Ronaldo distraction. Talking of that big game, there is a preview up on the channel. Go and check that out. There's also a video where Stephen Howson looked with Joe McGrath there. No, my God, I'm getting me sloppy Joes mixed up. Joe Smith, forgive me, Joe. On how Manchester United beat Spurs. Hopefully we can do that again against Chelsea as well. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel. I'll be back later on with Mr. Stephen Howson for The Brew. Thanks for watching.